I'm Alan Feldman, and I'm a poet. And you are?
I'm Nan Feldman, and I'm a visual artist.
And we've been married for 50 years.
Yeah.
As of yesterday.
I have one whole wall in my home that is the Nan Feldman wall, that all her paintings. Every time I've gone to one of her shows, I've said to myself, I don't need another one, and I come home with one.
It's been a great, not simply a pleasure to know the two of them, but it's been a huge inspiration. What they feel for each other and the art they make from being inspired by each other.
It was such a joy. It's always a joy being with you too. We love you.
I would give you poems for Valentine's Day, of course,
Yes.
for your birthday, for an anniversary. So you saved all those poems over the years, and they didn't necessarily end up published in any of my books. But you had a big album of my poems, and we
Yes.
decided to do a book of those poems, many of which had not been published, but they were all about you or to you. Our friend Bill Zavatsky wanted to publish a book that would really be by both of us.
Yes.
It would be a double billing. In other words, it would be 50 some odd paintings by you and a book of poems by me.
I was used to maybe 2 paintings per decade. I figured 10 paintings and the rest of the poems would be fine. But Bill, the publisher, kept saying, no, I want more paintings.
The book was actually the brainchild of the publisher, Bill Zavatsky.
Yes.
I thought, or Nan thought, that we should take all the poems that she's collected in her album that I've written for her and make a book of those. Some of them have been published, but others just, she was the person who had the only copy of them.
Right.
And so I put them together into collection, and we thought that, as often happens, it would be a book of poems with 5 or 6 or maybe 10 paid artworks to decorate it. But Bill was adamant. He has known us for more than 50 years, and he has come to admire Nan's work more and more and more. And he was adamant that we should have double billing, that this should be a book by Alan Feldman and Nan Hess Feldman, her paintings and my poems getting kind of equal status. And so he thinks of us as dual authors of this book, which is very nice, I think. And he came up with the title in the first half century that I've loved you, which I thought was a very funny title.
Her colors are outstanding, making me think of Van Gogh. She has been enormously prolific over the years, and we, meaning the selection committee of Nan, Alan, and I, could have filled 2 or 3 more books with reproductions of her work as dazzling as the ones you're going to see in the book.
So both of us have spent our lives making our own artwork or writing our own poems and teaching people to do it, to love it,
Yeah.
to be better at it. We have never stopped teaching in all these 52 years, right? Would you say?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm even teaching now, even though I have this neurological illness that prevents me from speaking. It's motor control, so it prevents me from walking and speaking correctly.
So Nan has a rare neurological disease called multiple system atrophy cerebellar. And it affects the cerebellum, which controls motion, movement, coordination. And it's a degenerative disease for which there is no cure. It progresses slowly, but inexorably. And so it's not clear to us whether a year from now she will be able to speak very clearly at all. Even in the last 6 months, her articulation has gotten worse. So the choice was to have a conventional book launch when the book would come out, who knows when, or to base a reading and an art talk on the book, let people know the book is going to be coming out, but do it on the day of our anniversary. Do it now, as opposed to waiting. If I could buy anything, I'd buy light. In these dark winter months, with their narrow days, the sun low and dim, as if I'm sick and seeing the sky through half-opened eyes. I'd buy a few weeks in a place by the sea, far south, where the gleam of the water makes me squint, and a breeze touches my bare arms repeatedly, doting on me. I wouldn't go alone either. I'd bring an artist with me who'd draw in bright colors scenes of summer in a sunny place. And I'd write poems with words like gleam and sparkle and even glare. And nights would be balmy, thousands dining in the open air under lanterns. And I'd be out on the water whenever I could be, the sea sparkling, the glare of white sails, and the gleam of the boat's wake.
This is one of, 12 to 20 paintings I did of the town of Rochebaudan, which is just a beautiful small town in France. And when I was teaching in Dieu la Vie, I would take the students to this town, and we'd take over the whole town, and it was a town full of artisans. And every time I did a painting of this town, it sold, and I just wanted to keep one of the paintings.
The paintings and the poems were central. The paintings, in some sense, more central because as graphic art, it's immediate. Poetry is more reflective, and so it's harder to get on the first go-round. You have to see it on the page later. But it was wonderful seeing, listening to her talk about her art.
I love her art. It's quirky, but it's so bright and cheerful. Sometimes I don't like art that isn't cheerful, and Nan's always is.
And I've always been interested in home. And for a while, I did houses from everywhere because we had looked for a house for 3 years. And then when we finally bought this house, I did sorts of portraits of every room in the house many times, each time differently.
And if their marriage sometimes seems to have been made in heaven, heaven is a structure with walls, a roof, and a furnace.
They believe creativity and domesticity can coexist. In fact, much of their work is about domesticity. My dad writes that it was difficult to find another example of a poet who had the privilege of writing about the same person over 50 years.
It was wonderful to see him over these last 50 years make his family, make the domestic world his theater by giving a kind of place and largeness to what is often dismissed as somehow merely the setting or background for life. He made the ordinary domus or home extraordinary.
You researched women artists. You found that they very rarely raised families.
Yes.
They either were about their art or they were not artists, but they couldn't handle raising a family. And somehow you negotiated that. And as for me, I was fortunate to have an academic job, so I had free time in the summers.
And you were home.
And I was home, and that maybe helped you in terms of raising the kids. And so because of our relationship, I ended up with a lot of poems about you. There's only a couple of paintings you've done of me.
My dad asked me to speak about how my parents influenced each other's work. My first thought was that while my mom is clearly the subject of so much of my dad's work, he is largely absent from her art.
To me, the kids have always been important, but the artwork has always been. They're all important.
They're all important, and that I think is one of the things maybe that people wanted to pay tribute to in a way, that we'd had this fertile relationship that resulted in children who grew up well.
I love the way that Nan appears as a character and the way his art helps to give her a place in the world of literature too. And it's true that both Alan's art and her art is art that's focused on the home. She is a painter of houses and landscapes out the windows of houses. And Alan is a poetical painter of the rising and falling of drama within the household.
My wish is that for many more years, Alan and Nan continue to paint and write their ways in and around life's joys and obstacles, and do it hand in hand.
It was wonderful to see everybody and to experience how much they cared about us, because we had people who came all the way from New York City, drove all the way from New York City just to be there for that couple of hours.
Maine and Florida
And from
the Cape.
From Maine, from Florida, from the Cape. I think that it sort of reflected back on us what our relationship has meant to other people. The fact that we both have had these long creative lives where we support each other and encourage each other and inspire each other. And I think that maybe that's a metaphor for the way a marriage should be. You know, that it's not about just two people being together, but it's about two people strengthening each other and inspiring each other.
Yeah.
And not necessarily messing with each other's work, because I don't know anything about painting, and I honestly have to say you don't know much about writing poetry.